It is extra extra. This is the bit where we just have a look at some of what some of the latest news is that would be that's out and about there in the world. And over to the lovely John. John, how are you? Do you want to take it away?
I am fabulous. Hello, everyone. Lots of news as ever. I've been reading papers, some interesting, some not so interesting, and we've kind of filtered it down to the things that are probably the important and fun ones for you to take a look at. Starting off with a simple question: what's in your portfolio pipeline? And I say that because it's something we normally have a lot of problems with pulling it together, getting a clear view of not only what the live projects are looking like, but also what everyone is planning or intending to do over the next quarter, the next year, the next 3 years. People tend to struggle beyond that, which is why it's really, really impressive that the National Infrastructure and Service Transformation Authority, who knew that was a thing, have published their pipeline of infrastructure projects for the UK, aiming to go out 10 years. So this is online. It is fully searchable. I shall share the link with you all shortly, or you can just Google it with keywords and I'm sure you'll find it. But basically, this is a list of all the projects that they are aware of that are running, public and private. So it's got all the water companies and everything in there. You can play around and click on your region to see what projects are expected in your region and whether, and they've got 649 projects in there so far. And of those, there's some of them don't have any detail at all, particularly some of the far off ones. But a lot of them have expenditure metrics on there, what the capex spend is going to be like. And if you squint, I'll put on screen there, you can just about see for some of them, certainly the public ones, there's information on there about what the project is and who to contact for more information, which is either having clicked through it, there's either an email address there to contact, or there's a website if the project's got a dedicated website there. So there's some inspiration there for some of you that are struggling to pull those kind of views together for in Power BI in your organizations for what projects look like. This is a great example of government doing it over a much wider area, over a much longer period of time to give that forward view for everyone there. It's also worth just taking a click through, looking at their introduction, explaining why they're doing it, and the methodology they're following to create it as well. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration to try and do something similar for your organizations, allowing people to see what the longer term looks like, what we want to do, what the aspirations are, and people can start thinking about how those projects might impact different areas, how new things they'd like to do might trip over other projects in the future. So really, really nice to see that information out there in public. A lot of people will be looking at what's happening in their area, but for us project people, we'll be looking at this as inspiration. How can we emulate this in our organizations to give people great transparency and enable decision making? Right, I'll share the link afterwards. Let's move on to the next slide. Extra, extra, read all about it. IT projects are risky.
That's not news.
I'm not feeling much excitement about this deep insight. But what's great about this one is there has actually been some research backing this one up. So if you just jump onto the next slide for us, Lindsay. This is an absolutely amazing paper from Bent Oxford and many others who've come together to pull this together. They've done research. It's over 1,000 projects have been looked at, so it's quite a broad study, and they've got evidence in there now that IT projects are uniquely risky. They've gone through 23 different categories of projects. IT was the only one that where they looked at cost overruns, they couldn't actually pin down sort of stick significantly on the long tail of those what those look like and come up with sort of average times. Everything else they could. IT projects are special in so many ways, so they're uniquely risky. The fat tail danger, and basically when you sort of look at a distribution curve there, you've got that big tail out there. 1 in 5 IT projects were blowing past their budgets by over 50%. And when they do go bad, they go bad really, really badly. So this one and the bullet underneath it kind of tied together really. So not all IT projects overrun. 41% were overrunning, which is actually better than a lot of other sectors, to be fair. But when they do overrun, they go crazy over. So we were seeing that when they do overrun blowing budgets, those 1 in 5, I think it was 18% of projects overrunning, the average overrun time for those 18% that overrun past their budgets was 453%, or 5.5 times the original estimate. And
Ouch.
this is why IT projects are so scary. If it's on time, great, and a lot of them are on time, but when they go bad very, very dramatically. And to put
John, does it say anything about the delivery framework? So is it less of a problem if they do agile than the old kind of standard waterfall, or does it not mention it?
that's not what this one was about. So they've not gone into that in here, but it would be an interesting sort of further look. I agree with you. If you can just click on the next one, on there, for us, just for a second. This gives a sort of sense of the level of risk compared with some other areas there, and IT massively more prone to those sort of cost overruns when compared with other areas that we would deem very, very high risk. It just puts those kind of projects into perspective. And I'm hoping this is helpful for those of you that have IT portfolios, or IT in your portfolio, where you have those conversations that I'm sure we've all had with people in the organization, where people sort of just don't quite understand the inherent risk with some of the work we do, with projects in the IT space, and therefore how much contingency you need around them, and how important it is not to pile projects on projects on project in the IT space. In terms of why this goes wrong, it does dive into that in the paper as well, noting some of these sort of fairly things that we know about that are quite common. So if you compare with construction, for example, there's literally millennia of experience with doing construction projects, whereas tech is still very, very new to us all in terms of sort of decades of experience rather than thousands of years of experience. There's a lot of things that are very, very intangible in there now, because we're building on technology that is constantly changing, and there's layers and layers of it. But also with that one, they separated out goal ambiguity from general intangibility there. So goals tend to be less clear in the IT space, and that's not necessarily people doing things wrong, but it is genuinely hard to get that ambiguity there. People are defining what they want. We want to put this technology in, and a lot of the time, certainly if you're working with agile methods and things like that, well, you want to make things better by putting a new ERP system in, for example, but you're quite until you get started on that and get a real sense of how long it's going to take you to put in, you can't be entirely clear on what different features you want to add into that tool, how many projects you want to get working on it, how many improvements you want to make. So it's a lot harder to get to that goal ambiguity, those goals tied down. And you think about the conversations you often have, it often tends to be a very, very two-way conversation where you've got what the business would like from the project, but they also want information from the IT side of things about what capabilities are there that they might not have thought of. There was always that it's a real challenge to sort of get that balance right, looking at what the technology can bring in that the sponsors haven't thought of versus what the sponsor wants, and get a balance of that stuff. So goal ambiguity is a common problem. The other ones there, it's optimism bias is a big one, and also the fact that we're more often than not, we're combining tech and social. It's very rare that an IT project is purely around technology. We're making social changes as well. We're changing the way people are working, the way people are communicating, the way they're engaging. This is the change management side of things. It is always a big factor. It's not just about the technology. You're doing a technology and a social change program all at the same time. So a lot of those reasons in there on why these are inherently risky.
Do you think it'd be quite cool if you're the PMO that you work in IT projects at the minute, that you came into one of your next meetings with stakeholders or project manager or whatever and talked to them about, have you seen the latest research on this?
I would absolutely encourage people to do that, because it's a great bit of research. It's something we've all known and felt for a while, and it gets challenged a lot though. People eye rolling saying, well, it's not that it's not that risky, this is not that hard. Yes, it might be new to us, but other people have done this before. All those kind of normal arguments that we get back. And what you've actually got here is research based evidence from
Yeah.
people at Oxford Science. So it's credible resource stuff. It covers a wide range of projects, and it gives you that insight and justification for actually explaining and articulating that it's not just us, it's not challenges that are unique to us. IT projects are inherently risky, and we need to plan for that and factor that into what we're doing.
I like that line. Riskier than nuclear waste.
Absolutely. And the
That
last
should
one,
be on a t-shirt.
yeah. The last one there is that there's a little bit in there. There's not much in there about how to solve it, but the last bit in there is probably an important one. Their guidance is wherever possible, break your IT or technology projects down into as smaller chunks as you can. Take time up front to make the big calls around things, and then look at how you can slice things down. The smaller you break those projects down, the easier it is to fit things into people's heads, and the greater chance you've got of success on those. So that's sort of key guidance for that as well. But there's lots of gems in that one, and it's well worth a read.
Excellent. And will you be able to give us the link?
Link incoming in the chat as soon as we're done.
Oh no, hybrid's not working.
Hybrid's not working. Another one that people sort of have kind of felt for a little while, I think. And again, some research with some interesting takeaways. So this one's from Harvard Business Review. Again, I'll share the link to this one for you shortly. But again, they've done a lot of research, speaking to a lot of organizations about how agile, how this hybrid way of working is working for them or not, and what they're coming back with. And it just goes on for paragraph after paragraph after paragraph of all the ways it is not working. It's hurting team collaboration, it's isolating employees, new hires really struggle with it, it weakens company culture, it's impacting people's ability to learn from their peers and develop themselves, it's resulting in the wrong people being promoted. There's the list goes on and on and on in the article about it. It does mandate having deliberate strategies to improve communication, and this is where I think PMOs can play a big part in this. It's not enough to just assume it will communication will happen. And I think it's interesting, we did I think 10 years or so ago we were probably doing more, my sort of sense of it, and let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I think we were doing more around putting more effort into communication on projects than we do now. There was a lot of effort to do team building, do team bonding, get people communicating. And I know I roll about it nowadays, but this idea of having sort of icebreakers and all of those kind of things, those kind of forced engagement over silly sort of scenarios. And I know those sort of those were less popular, but we seem to have almost gone the other way. And we don't. I think we actually put less effort into building teams and getting people communicating effectively now than we used to, despite us all being hybrid and remote. It's quite an interesting one, but it's emphasizing here that we should have deliberate strategies for communication. Don't just assume it will happen. There's one down there which I know is controversial for some people, but creating and enforcing rules for virtual meetings, and the view they sort of picked up in there are very simple: cameras on or don't attend the meeting. And actually having people enforce that in meetings. If your camera's on, if you're not prepared to be your camera on, then you shouldn't be in the meeting. Full stop. Was a very militant approach on that one there, and holding to that line on that one. Limiting attendees is probably one that's more general across other types of meetings as well. So there was some advice in there for virtual meetings and general rules for engagement as well. So they suggested designated hours every day when people are explicitly available and open to people communicating with them. Tracking attendance and engagement. I worked with, I was speaking to someone recently who had discovered that one of their team was in LA and working from there, and they hadn't noticed, and they'd been there for a year. So things like that happening, tracking attendance in the office, but also people being online for things, and having a think about KPIs that are tracked for line managers, tracking things that you then take forwards into performance reviews, measuring engagement, response times, and response to people sending merchant requests, those kind of things, but also measuring things like how they're helping new hires, and bringing people up around them as well. So there's quite a few sort of bits in there that's some interesting takeaways. And whilst it's aimed at corporates in general, as always, as PMO people, we can look at this through the lens of the PMO, thinking about how we can bring some of these things in to support the project managers, creating their own environments, controlled environments, to help them deliver more effectively as well. And the PMO can be the sort of the strong arm there, sort of providing that consistency and standardization, and helping project managers get those things enforced for their good going forwards for their projects and their organizations. I think those were that was the big ones for me. There was some tricky ones in there, so I'll share those links. But
That's
the IT
really
one is well worth a look, I think.
Yeah, I think we've been chitty-chatting away. You can have a look at some of those. One of them that Sarah's just reminded people about Viva Insights. Do you use it? It's a thing on Teams, isn't it? The kind of it tells you metrics and things like that. She was saying it's a great measure on not multitasking during meetings. I do have it switched on, but I do find it quite annoying because it's always telling me to prep for the next meeting. Like it's just like flashing up and stuff all the time. But maybe that's just
what's Viva, Lindsay?
it's a Teams Microsoft thing. You know, like they keep shoving this stuff at you. You'll be able to. I can't even remember how I turned it on. Is anybody
I'll
else
have to
using it
find
or
it.
not?
It's an app in Teams, so you just add it as an app, and I don't get alerts from it, so I'm now jealous, Lindsay, because I don't get alerts. But it's good to look every time. It tells you who you work with and those measures. So it gives you productivity ideas, but also how to step back ideas.
Yeah.
Perhaps you don't need any, Sarah. Perhaps you're already working at prime productivity.
No, she's not, because she's just she's multitasking when she's in meetings, so that's naughty.
No, I'm not multitasking.
Oh, you're not. You're not.
I'm not, but I do. But apparently, it's not measuring it right.
That's what I'm saying. It's not giving a hint anymore. I'm saying that's because she's suspect she's doing everything correctly.
Right. So the robot's spoken.
Not in a month of Sundays.
Very good. Well, then.